Hello children. So in the last period we have started to discuss about the first chapter of the history, what, where, how and when. Today we are going to continue with the points that we have started in the last period, that was finding out about the past. In this point we were discussing that what are the different ways of finding out about the past. Means what are the things, what are the ways by which we can find out about the past, or we can find out about the history that we have started to study in the last period. In this, we have seen that we can study the past with the help of the manuscripts. What are the manuscripts? Manuscripts are uh, the writings which is written by the hands. So, as it is the meaning of the manuscript is explained as it is a Latin word, and the manu means the hand, and script means the writing. And in this way, the word is made manuscripts. So, this writings made by the written by the hand. So, where it is written, basically, it is written on the palm leaves. It is written on the bark of the specially prepared bark of the trees and the birches. On this, all we have seen that we can study the past, as well as we have seen there are other ways to study about the past or study about the history, like books are there, epics are there, poems are there, plays are there. Through this also we can study the past. In this period we are going to see that how can we study the past with the help of inscriptions. So uh, first of all we will understand what is inscription basically. See, we can study the past also with the inscription. What are the inscription? These are the writings on relatively hard surfaces, such as stone or metal. Sometimes kings got their orders inscribed. Inscribed means written and carved out so that people could see, read, and obey them. There are, there are other kinds of inscription as well, where men and women, including kings and queens, recorded what they did. What they did means, for example, kings often kept records of his own victories in the battle. So in this way, we can say the kings were writing the things, whatever the things were happening with them on the inscription. Or if they want to make an order to the people of his kingdom, then they were inscribing all these kind of messages or the things onto the inscriptions. So there were many other things that, as you know, for studying the inscription, uh, as one of the inscription I'm going to show you here. Yes. So if you can see this, this is a kind of an inscription. You can see this inscription is carved out onto the stone, and see how it is decorated with a beautiful decoration, as well as this all the scripts written onto the hard surface like metal or stone is called as the inscription. So this is called the inscription. But see, the inscription is not the only way to study about the past. There are some scholars. There are some scholars who are also studying the old object to study the past, or to study the history. They are studying the old objects, and we can say these scholars are called as the archaeologist. An archaeologist is a person who studies the remains of the building made up of stone and brick, paintings and sculpture. They also explore and excavate to find tools, weapons, pots, pans, ornaments, and coins. They also look for bones of animals, birds, and fish to find out what happened in the past. In this way, we can say that the archaeologist is a scholar who studies the past with the help of old and ancient objects. They also explore and excavate, dig under the surface of the earth to find the tools, weapons, pots, pans, ornaments, and coins. Some of these objects may be made up of stone and may be made up of bone, baked clay or metal. Objects that are made of a hard, imperishable substances usually survive for a long time. Okay, in this way, we can say the archaeologists are studying the old objects or old buildings, and in this way they are we can say studying the past or the history. Now, in the book, one thing is given, apart from old city. Now, here in this slide, I have not shown you that pot. The pot like this were used about 4,700 years ago, as well as some um coins are also given. Such coins were used almost 2005 years ago. So, in this way, this kind of old objects are studied by archaeologists. Now, we are going to see about the historians. Who are the historians? Historians are the scholars who studies the past. But how do they study the past? Historians use the word source to refer to the information found from manuscripts, inscriptions, and archaeology. Once sources are found, learning about the past becomes an adventure. See, what is the work of the historian? Historian studies the past with the help of manuscripts, inscriptions, archaeological studies, and all that. And once all these sources are found, learning about the past becomes very, very easy and adventure. So, historians are the people, those who are uh, not only studying the history, but also they are uh, taking out the very, very important events and the reasons behind it, why those all the events have happened in the past. So that is called historian. So historians and archaeologists are like detectives. Who are the historians and archaeologists? Historians and archaeologists are like the detective who use all these sources like clues to find out about our past. So I hope that you would have understood the difference and the meaning of historian as well as this archaeologist. Now, one of the historians picture statue of the, as you can see on the screen. Who is this? This is the Herodotus. He was the father of the. He is the father of the history. He is considered Herodotus is considered as the father of history. He was the first one who started to study the history or who started to study the different event that has happened in the past, and he has written the history in the written form. So who was he? He was a very, very important Greek scholar. uh, his name was Herodotus, and he is also considered as the father of history. Now, next point that we are going to see is one past or many. See, as you all know, that there are so many people in the world. There is no any particular people, or there are so many different group of people living in the world. So, as there are different group of people living in the world, definitely the past of each and every group of people would not be same. It would be definitely different. For example, we will take our example of our India. You know very well, India is a large country, and the history of each and every group of people, those who are living in the north, those who are living in the south, those who are living in the east, those who are living in the west, as well as living in the central India, their histories are not same actually. And as their histories are not same, we cannot say that there was one past or there were many past. Obviously, we can say that there were many past, and therefore, if you will look the cover page of our book here, the name of the book is not given our past. The name of the book is given as our past. Past is a singular word, and the past is a plural word. And on the basis of this, we can say that there were many pasts. So The little of this book is our the little of this book is our past. That means whatever the things are given in this book is a small part of the past. The past is very huge. Did you in this way we can say uh, one example is given over here. Different, for example, the lives of herders or farmers were different from those of kings and queens. The lives of merchants were different from those of craft persons, and so on. What we can say here that the each and every group of people were living in a different way, and their pasts are different, and therefore we can say that there were many pasts. Also, as is true even today, people follow different practices and customs in different parts of the country. For example, today most of the people living in the Andaman Islands get their own food by fishing, hunting, and collecting forest produce. By contrast, most people living in the cities depend on others for supplies of food. Differences such as these existed in the past as well. So, whatever the differences that are present today, also definitely these differences were in the past also. So, therefore, we can say there were many past. Besides, there is another kind of difference. We know a great deal about kings and the battles. They fought because they kept records of their victories. Generally, ordinary people such as hunters, fishing folk, gatherers, farmers, or herders did not keep record. Do you know why they did not keep record? They did not keep record because they were not able to read and write. They were ordinary people. So, who were able to read and write? Only kings and queens and some of the high officials were able to read and write. But the ordinary people were not able to read and write, and therefore, their stories, their past is not written anywhere. And therefore, here it is said that the generally ordinary people, such as hunters, fishing folk, gatherers, farmers, or herders, did not keep record of what they did, while archaeology help us to find out about their lives. What is archaeology? Archaeology is the study of past, which is done with the help of studying the old objects. So, in the archaeology, we can get the information about these ordinary people, but each and every person's life we cannot understand from ordinary people's life. We cannot study from the archaeology, but we can study the general things about their life. That how were their life, what they were eating, in what kind of houses they were living. All these kind of things we can study with the help of archaeology. So while archaeology helps us to find out about their lives, there is much that remains unknown. That means archaeology studies a part of the history or the part of the old things, but most of the part of the life of the ordinary people is completely unknown. And in this way, we can say that there is no one past, there were many past, as there were many group of people in the ancient time or in the past. Now, the next point that we are going to study is what do date means. Every day we count the dates. That, for example, today is 18, tomorrow is 19, then last year it was 2019, now this year it is 2020. How do we calculate these dates? Why, from when we have started to calculate the dates, and what is the meaning of these dates? So, in this point, we are going to understand how do we count the dates in the history. If somebody asks you the date, you will probably mention the day, then the month, and at last the year, isn't it? So 2000 and something in that way. Like in this year, it is 2020. This year, these years are counted from the date generally assigned to the birth of Jesus Christ. Normally, we count all these dates from the birth of Jesus Christ. And who was Jesus Christ? You know very well. He was the founder of Christianity. He was the founder of Christian religion. So, from the birth of the Jesus Christ, we count all these dates. So, uh, 2000 means 2000 years after the birth of Christ, and 2020 means the 2020 means what? 2020 years after the birth of the Jesus Christ. In the same way, all the dates before the birth of the Christ are counted backwards and usually have their letters before letters as BC. What is the meaning of BC? BC means before Christ, or before Christ, means before the birth of Christ, and we count it in a backward way. For example, as we go back in the past, we count it as 1 2 3 4 5 7 5 6 7 100 200 500 800 in the backward. But when we count this in the forward way, as we are counting it now in 2000 as 2020, we are counting it forward. Means next year we are going to count it as 2021. Then to the next year we will count it 2022. So using 2000 as our starting point, we are studying all this type of history. Now, uh, as you can see, I have explained to you that we have started to count all our um things from the birth of the Jesus Christ. From we have started to count our all the dates from the birth of the Jesus Christ. Now here the BC and AD is explained. What is BC and what is AD, that we have understood before, but even then here it is very well explained. Here 0 is counted as the birth of the Jesus Christ. The 0 is counted as the birth of the Jesus Christ. From the birth of the Jesus Christ, as we go forward, we count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 500, 1000, 1500, and now it is 2020. This period uh, after the birth of the Jesus Christ is called as the Anno Domini. What is it called? Anno Domini. And so, therefore, whenever we count the dates, or whenever we count the years from the birth of the Jesus Christ, we will add AD in that. This period is called as the Anno Domini. See, Anno Domini is a Christian term. Anno Domini is what? Is what basically it is a Christian term, and we count the dates in a forward way. But before the birth of the Jesus Christ, right from the 0 to backward, we count the years in backward form. Means 500 years ago, 1000 years ago, 1500 years ago, 2000 years ago, 2500 years ago, in this way. This is called as the BC. These years are called as the BC. BC means what? Before Christ, means before the birth of the Jesus Christ. This BC is a Christian term. What is it? It is Christian term. But nowadays we also use different kind of terms for counting these dates, or mentioning these dates, or mentioning these years, and these terms are secular. Means it is not related with any religion. Getting what is the meaning of secular? Secular means the terms which are not related with any religion, which is completely irrelevant of the religion. So now the secular term for the AD or Anno Domini is Common Era, and the secular term for BC is before the Common Era. In this way, we count the Common Era and before the Common Era. I hope that you would have understood all these things of BC and AD, and in this way, we have completed our chapter. If you have any doubts, any problems, so you can ask me. I will clear your doubts, and I hope that this presentation was very helpful to understand the past, the first chapter of the history. So now we will do the questioning and answering session. Thank you very much.